What is up, guys? We are talking about Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire. We both went and watched it this past weekend, and I enjoyed it. What did you think, Mark?
I thought it was a really good, kaiju monster film pretty much. Where the critics hate it, mostly like everybody else absolutely loved it. I know I did. It's just a lot of I know some people complained or liked that it was more of the same, but it's, Godzilla, Kong, some of the other monsters in the movie, and they're just beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, I would say that the focus is for sure on the monsters in this movie, for sure. There was obviously we can't give spoilers, but there was the relation of some human sort of bonding with the kaiju again, kind of like with King of the Monsters. Um, so I thought that there was a surprise kaiju brought in, which was pretty cool. I thought that was, I don't know about you, but I thought that was a great introduction and a classic monster.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was pretty excited about that. Um, but yeah, I would say that definitely kaiju focus for sure, which I liked. I liked it a lot. I thought visually speaking, I thought that the visuals were great. I mean, they spent that budget well, I feel like, and visually fight scenes were really cool. The opening to the movie though, I mean the first like 5 minutes was pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
Just gets right into it. Yeah.
It goes straight into it, which I loved because a lot of these, there's a lot of a long build up. It's a real kind of slow burn for like, at least 15, 20 minutes, but this kind of jumped right into it. But yeah, I mean, in general, I definitely liked it. There were some aspects I didn't like though. But what do you think were kind of your like favorite aspects of the movie? It's hard to not, give spoilers. Of course, we don't want to do that, but
Yeah, that's hard. I don't know, maybe because I mean, after the first 5 minutes, you kind of get in with the beginning of the movie, and it's probably the slowest part of it with the human characters and stuff like that. But they're clearly and very quickly not there for a whole lot of anything. They don't really move the plot along. They don't really interfere with the monsters. They're just kind of there. They make some references to some of the previous movies and stuff like that. With the connection and obviously some other stuff. With like how Godzilla and Kong interact. Obviously, it's a direct relation to Godzilla vs Kong in the last movie.
yeah.
But for the most part, I thought that's what I enjoyed was the fact that the focus is on the monsters, as well as there's no dialogue. It's just the monsters interacting, but they did it in such a way you can understand like what's going on, like how they're able to communicate, and you're not really lost without very little, if any, dialogue at all in big swaths of the movie, which was really really good to see.
But I'm just like thinking, like referencing back to us. I'm like, it was such a nerd. He had like a Godzilla statue and a King like toys. I think they were
Yeah.
toys. I don't know. There's whatever. It was really cool the way he had it set up. It was like very nerdy, and I loved it. I think it was great. There were there was a lot of like kind of fan servicey stuff with stuff like that. Some callbacks to -1, which was really cool. I like that a lot. Um, as we kind of talked about in the podcast before, the director they started filming and they were wrapping up, I think is what he said, and watched -1, and then he's like, "Oh man, this film's amazing! Like, I need to throw something in here to reference that film," and that was really cool. I thought that was awesome. Um, I we both think -1 is good stuff for sure. You just learned some information, right, about the sort of legality, or I guess is what you would say, as far as the releases of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a side thing. I don't immediately have the source pulled up, but apparently, and I guess this was like a weird thing with -1 and Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. But apparently, there is just a neat fun fact. There's an agreement with Toho that says there can't be two Godzilla movies within the same calendar year. Like Toho can't put out a movie, and Hollywood can't put out a Godzilla movie within the same year. Probably so they don't overshadow each other too much. But
Yeah.
these were only like 3-4 months apart at this point. I mean, I guess it technically came out in Japan in late November,
Yeah.
and then now we're almost to April at this point, so you're probably looking 4 months apart. But it's still something interesting. But there's still loopholes there, which are pretty neat. And
Yeah.
pretty much the fact that I've been able to see 2 kaiju / Godzilla movies in theaters within like 2 months is really dope, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I was eyeballing the Godzilla -1 set today, like highly debating. Like I went on the actual website, the Japanese website, and I was like, I don't collect physical movies anymore, but this is so tempting. Like it's so tempting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I guess one of the aspects that I didn't care for too much, I didn't really like Scar King too much. I just didn't care for him in general. I didn't. He doesn't feel like as compared to like some of the kaiju. I get. Here's what I feel. I feel like they wanted to pull more from Kong's side of stuff, which makes sense because of the way that the movie.
Yeah, there's much more of a heavy focus on Kong in this movie than Godzilla or any other kaiju.
Which is fair. I mean, yeah, I mean, I like that. I like King Kong as well. I just didn't care for Scar King too much. I think for me, I felt like he was the weakest part of the movie. Like even the fight scene right pretty much at the beginning of the film felt more more intense to me with what it was. But I just felt like I just felt like Scar King doesn't feel as like intimidating of a antagonist, if that makes sense.
Not compared to the obviously right before it's revealed in the movie, the quick little lore dump that they explain. And he kind of felt like he didn't live up to the quick little in movie lore hype that they hyped him out to be. Like he was this big thing,
Big threat.
To spoiler, but there was issues between him and wanted to want more power and stuff like that. But he, outside of the control that he had over the other kaiju, without getting too spoilery, he just seemed at the same level kind of as like as a King Kong pretty much, and didn't seem overly threatening. He just seemed like the big alpha ape that was able to take control over his clan or whatever you want to call it, and was just had a lust for power, but was never able to like achieve his ultimate goal.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with Shimo, that character, that kaiju. I thought that kaiju was kind of cool. It felt like a kaiju that could have been from Godzilla, the one before -1. Why am I Shin Godzilla? It felt like a transformation scene. That's what he felt like. He's supposed to be like he was riding on him and stuff. I thought he was kind of cool. It was interesting, at the end what they ended up doing with him. That was kind of cool as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I dug that. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I felt like personally, like Scar King, like I said, was kind of the weaker points of the movie. And then, what did you think about the collar changes? We've kind of known about this. We've reported on in the podcast before the film came out. The various collar changes of Godzilla. Do you think that was even a big thing in the film? Because I
mean, it was. I think you had to distinct because I think that the blue was his standard power up.
Yeah.
Based off like what they needed to hype up, and he needed to be even more powerful for this old ancient threat. So he supercharged up. Obviously, they just went with the pink as kind of a way to explain like how even more powerful he is. But just the color change, I felt like they could have done more physically changing outside of just there's a new color on his spikes on his back and stuff like that. But I mean, it's still, even then, it still kind of felt like a letdown compared to some of the not a letdown. It's still an enjoyable movie, and I absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But the hype that they did in universe and lore, and it just didn't feel like it was that more powerful than his regular atomic breath.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Being a fan of the series, I've seen every single movie. And just in comparison to like kind of what they've done with Godzilla before, as far as like getting him at his most powerful, this didn't feel like it lived up to that part to me. because we've seen Godzilla do pretty crazy things over the years, especially during I say the Showa era. I don't want to sound like an idiot. I can't remember, or maybe it was a Heisei era. I can't remember which era was the more menacing, evil-looking Godzilla. But during that era, at the end, the very last film, felt a lot more like Godzilla. Oh, this is Godzilla at his limits. Like I just didn't feel that with this film. It definitely. What's your comparison to -1? Since you absolutely love that film, because you love this one too.
Comparison. You can't compare it. They're two different movies, and they're really two different genres types of movies. Like this one is more, if you want to call it like the anti-hero summer popcorn flick, where you just kind of shut your brain off and you just enjoy the monsters fighting. Because I felt myself doing this last night when I started digging a little bit more into it after the fact. I'm like, I'm thinking way too much into this movie, because obviously you think too hard. There's plot holes and there's issues all over the place with the story.
Yep.
But I was like, if you just ignore that, like the plot is there, like the human characters are there, but they're there just to kind of help the story move along at certain points, or new revelations, come to light later in the movie. But as a whole, it just felt like, just Godzilla, King Kong goes smash pretty much. And it's just a enjoyable, shut your brain off type movie, where -1 is a lot more thought-provoking. Godzilla's there and he's menacing, and he's kind of like more like a force in nature.
Yeah.
But the focus is on the characters, and Godzilla is like a menace that has to be like, taken out, removed.
Yeah.
Because it's just, causing nothing but destruction.
I feel that same way. We talked about this. Godzilla's been brought up in the past probably like 6 podcasts or something that. But I feel the same way. I actually much prefer, the Hollywood Godzilla has always, we're going back to the 98 Godzilla, which was take it as you will, but I thought a horrid movie, has always done something different with Godzilla. If we're even looking back at the 2014 Godzilla, and I mean, this has smashed like their expectation for sales in opening weekend. So that's good. That's a good sign. This is just opening weekend. As of recording right now, it's not even the end of Sunday yet. So, I think that's a good sign. That's a good sign where there's another one coming, basically. There's another one coming. I don't see him stopping doing this anytime soon, which I'm on board for. I enjoyed the film a lot, but they definitely 100% were pulling from Kong's lore a lot more, and world and everything.
He's just kind of there as like a force to fight, Scar King type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see this as an audience review, and I kind of agreed with it. The movie it kind of just ends abruptly.
It does.
Foreshadowing. There's no lead up to another movie. It just kind of ends after like you get your big final fight, which kind of left you feeling like you wanted more. You're just kind of like, that's it. There's no more to the story.
Yeah.
I mean, there is to some degree like a story there, but it just ends like just straight. Yeah. At least, at the very least, I didn't like that. And then I guess if you want to talk about other stuff, I didn't care for some of the music choices, like the actual in movie songs from like Hollywood and stuff like that. I thought those were out of place, didn't fit any section they were used, and you could have just gone without it, or just used the regular King Kong Godzilla, like the old themes would have been a better fit than just random Hollywood pop music at times.
Yeah, because they pulled like I can't remember what 80s song was played, but it did. Yeah, I agree. But the thing is that it's a Hollywood flick, right? So like that's what they do best, is like throw stuff in there, and I can think of a few things off the top of my head where they
fit. I was gonna say I felt like it fit more with the opening of the movie, but the very ending where it goes in the credit scenes, I was like, this doesn't fit at all with what's going on, even on screen. Like this is it's not a good choice. And it's one of the few things that rubbed me the wrong way within the movie was some of the music choices, and at times during the fight, it felt like, at least at the theater that I was in, the music was there, but you can't really hear it. So I can't really, without going back and rewatching it, figure out like what type of soundtracks were actually used in the movie. or not just the monsters themselves were just overpowering the actual music in the background.
They yeah, because they played like Turn Me
I
Loose, which was that song by Loverboy, and like
I
I Was Made for Loving You from Kiss. Like there was some weird choices.
doesn't fit at
Day
all.
Day After Day was one of them. There was some weird music choices, and that's a great point to bring up for sure. I definitely felt the same way. I'm like, "God, this doesn't really fit the scene very well, like with what's going on screen." But I would say overall, I enjoyed the movie. But
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
it's a again, it is a more of a popcorn flick. Like you said,
I
turn your brain off, watch the action.
I
That's it. You know what I mean? And
nothing wrong with those types of movies, pretty much.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And I will tell you one thing to close out here. I sat there and waited, thinking there might be a post credit scene. I should
So
have
did
looked.
I.
I sat there
I was
till
like, I do it for like every movie, but
I did too.
I'm not in a hurry. But I was like, maybe there's something there, but I'm like, yeah, there probably at this point there isn't, or if there is, I feel like we would have heard it by that point.
So I was the last person to leave the theater. I sat there and waited, and the credits just kept rolling and rolling. And it took somebody, one of the cleanup guys, after clean up the popcorn, to come tell me there wasn't one. I was like, oh dang, okay, well, uh, I'll leave now. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think we enjoyed it overall. I don't care for number scores too much, but what would this be for you? Do you think?
Solid like 8.5 out of 10 to me. Fairly enjoyable. Like if you dig too much into the lore, there's holes all over the place.
Yeah.
But if you just sit down there as a good monster flick with all the monsters involved and fighting each other, it's a good enjoyable movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sitting at about a 8 out of 10, and it's box office weekend. It has beat out Godzilla Kong Skull Island, so that's good. It has not beat out the 2014 Godzilla, but yeah, I'm sitting at a solid 8 out of 10. I
I
loved it. I thought it was great. So
Yeah, completely enjoyable movie. Recommend you go watch it in theaters for sure.
100%. So be sure to leave a subscribe. We're going to do more different content soon. Mark's going to be doing some stuff coming up not too long. So we're going to have some different stuff on the channel. We're going to really dive into that pop culture a bit, and yeah, drop a subscribe, and I guess we'll see y'all later.